Welcome to the Business Life of Husband and Wife podcast,
a show based on real experiences in business and life.
Hey guys, welcome back. Episode 66 today.
It is.
So for you guys who listen, you guys know our formats. We have 4. Our first format is our couples episodes, which is today, which I'm super excited for. Gets kind of, we're not going to get into the weeds. I already got in trouble off air a little bit, so we're gonna keep it very broad on the topic, and I'll rein it in a little bit. But so those are the ins and outs and all the bouts on couples and how they go about their business and what they operate and what they offer.
And then our second format of the show is we have our expert guests. So this is all the professionals behind the scenes that all of us as business owners really need. So that's lawyers, accountants, marketing specialists, HR firms, that type of thing. So you guys heard in season 1 that this was all the 101, the basic details of everything. And then now in season 2, we are branching that out into more in-depth content, more in-depth details, because us as business owners, there's a lot of nuances.
Yes, exactly.
And then the third format of the show is we have our Q&A episodes. You guys can submit those questions in the top right-hand corner of our website, Business Life of Husband and Wife. And then you can also find us on Instagram and Facebook as well under the same name.
Yeah. And then our final format, which we just added this year, that's our 4th format. So that's our foundation hour. We're doing this because we're writing a book, we're time stacking, we're studying the topic that we're writing about, and we're also recording a podcast on it so that we are more well informed about the information that we're presenting to you in our book that will be coming out hopefully the end of this year, but we'll see how productive our time stacking gets here.
Yeah.
So guys, we're doing our couples episodes today. Robyn and I both sound a little bit stuffy. We're going to do our best to make we'll make Wade, our editor, make us sound better on the episode here. But so today, we're going to get into the couples episode. Well, I want to get into real estate a little bit, and we're going to kind of dive into what these guys do in Louisiana. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves because I butcher names. I'm linguistically every time. Even if they're simple, I will mess it up. So linguistically challenged. And for those of you that listen, you guys know that I have a Smitty's 30 degree. So I used to go for breakfast and skip English 30. So I always say that to people. So we'll let you guys introduce yourself. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes. I'll go first. So I'm the wife. I am Brittany Krause.
And I'm Greg Krause. So yeah, we're some serial entrepreneurs from down in Louisiana, and we're looking to get started and kind of tell you all what it is that we do.
Yep.
So what is it that you guys do?
Yeah.
Let's go.
We do it all. So we're a family of 6. We have, well, I guess my wife would say we're a family of 7, 4 kids and a dog. And I guess my babies are the businesses. That's what I like to do. I'm very business minded. So my primary job was running a flooring company. Started a flooring company when I was 18 years old, learned it from my dad, and took that off, and then opened up a flooring store. So we were just installs, running crews, and then opened up a store, and we grew that to be the second largest store in our area in about 3 years. And then my business partner bought me out of that, and I went back to the grind, back to running crews, and built such a great team that's really allowed us the free time to then look to our future, look towards, what do we ultimately want in life? What are our big goals? This is just, we're making a living. This is good, but what do we really want in life? Yeah. And so that's like the start of our journey. And then we went through looking at so we play in the stock market. That is a roller coaster, up and down. And, Clint, I don't know if y'all play that game and you check into it and you look at it and it'll set your tone the whole day. It's a roller coaster, just up and down. And it's like it would set my tone and just either, start my day off in the right track, or more often than not, just put me in a slump. And then, you wake up and then you're checking it again at lunch, and you're checking it again in the afternoon of just like, what's going on with my money,
and sending reports to your wife of what's doing well and what's not doing well. Have you looked at it today? There's a red arrow, a green arrow.
Yeah. And then
bring all of our stress right to the forefront.
Oh yeah. And it's like, you never win. You sell it and you're like, okay, we did okay. And then it goes up, it's just like, you can never win. There's no magic 8 ball to it. And it just,
So you always feel like the small fish in that big pot, right?
oh yeah.
It's just like habitual. You're like, grab your phone and you're like, hey, checking Bloomberg, checking to see if it's going up.
Yeah.
And you're monitoring, and it gets, yeah. So we don't even actually do much in the stock market at all anymore.
We stopped watching.
No, I got into
Really?
crypto and I said, and then that was bad news too. And I'm like, okay, that's enough. You know, you
Yeah.
lose your shirt a few times and you're like, no more. And you get in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was
We've been there.
that was totally nuts. And then even like COVID, you know, it's like, you know, you're watching it, the market just skyrocket. Oh, we're doing good. And then boom, you just get hit, you know, COVID out of the blue. And it's like, where'd all this hard work and, you know, all the time and effort you put into trying to make $1 into it, just gone, you know, completely out of your control, nothing you could do about it. And it was driving us crazy. So we're like, okay, you know, all the big fish, you know, real estate, you know, that's what all the big players are doing. So we're looking at single family homes. And I'm like, okay, this sounds good, but let's look at flipping. I'm in the construction field. So instead of, let's go buy something that we can fix up and then have equity right into it and then start renting, you know, and we did. That's what we kind of started into that. We went down that path. We put in offers on houses, we got them accepted, and then due diligence would come through and it'd be like a way bigger nightmare than what we wanted to deal. And the numbers just didn't work out. And we weren't like overly hesitant on pulling the trigger, but you're liable for all that money. Like you're either winning big or you're losing big, and your personal credits on that. And like, you know, you could really take a big hit or win, you know?
So I'll tell you a quick funny story about the single family home stock. I would say it was stalking. We were stalking the market. Stalking the market so bad that we have a real estate friend who was helping us look at the different houses, and something came across and she sent it to Greg. Greg is on a fishing trip. So he's like out in the Gulf of Mexico somewhere, and he's calling me saying, you need to go look at the house. You need to go look at the house. Okay, I'll go look at the house. So I go look at the house. I'm like, yeah, this is not a good idea. Telling him, I'm like, babe, I don't think this is a good idea. He's like, I think we should just pull the trigger. Like, this was at the time when the houses were flying off the market. Like, you didn't have a chance of even.
Everything was going over asking. It
was crazy.
Booming.
Yeah. So he felt like they weren't crazy asking over all the things, you know, he was thinking all the right things, but he just didn't actually see the house. The pictures were not showing what the house was actually doing. Anyway, we pulled the trigger knowing that we had some due diligence.
I'm telling her, just buy it. Just put an offer in. I was like, we have a week. I'll tell them no. I'll tell them no when I get home. Just buy it. You know, like just give me some time to look at it and then I'll tell them no.
It's just really funny of like, you know, the husband-wife duo. He's on a fishing trip. I'm saying, I don't think it's a good idea.
And he's like, do it anyways.
Yeah, just do it.
Did you guys end up purchasing the home and do you?
No.
So we did that a little bit differently.
I don't think like we didn't.
No, it's my fault, really, actually. So there's a town that's kind of falling apart. It's kind of dying. A friend of mine moved back from Oklahoma back home, and he's like, hey, I found a bank. You want to buy a bank? And I'm sitting at home on Sunday, and it's like the first day off. Where I was like, you get 4 hours off and you buy a building. Are you kidding me? Like, we pulled the trigger within 4 hours.
Without asking, just
did it. I bought 1,000 square foot, 2-story old 1914 bank with the vault still in it. No roof. The roof had caved in. Like, it was sight unseen. We just went and bought it. So we have a project on our hands right now.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is a recent thing.
A year and a half ago now. Yeah, with COVID, the price of stuff, we're like, well, we're not going to invest a bunch in lumber and redo a bunch of stuff. It's the bricks worth more than the actual what we paid for the building if we took it down. So the investment's still good, but yeah, I pulled the trigger and I'm still kind of getting in trouble.
Yeah, the trouble's not over with yet until it's done.
No. I second that.
No, and that's where we're starting that project like this summer.
Yeah.
We're doing a full gut on it and full flip.
Turn it into putting a roof on it.
Yeah, it needs a roof.
Yeah.
I just need to put it back into lockup phase. That's where we need to get it. So
I would start with the roof, because anything you do under that, you know, it's gonna
be protected.
Right?
Start with a solid roof.
Especially with the snow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But anyways, I got in trouble for that. So
So he can relate.
I can very much relate to being like, I need somewhere to put my money. What am I going to do with it? This seems
bricks.
This seems like a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So from flipping houses, then we discovered this syndication process and the multifamily apartment complex units. And so once we dove into that, there are a lot of aspects in this investment strategy that you are ultimately in control of how much the return on your investment is. Because unlike a single family rental or a flip, you are relying on comps. You know, what shape is your neighbor's house in? What shape, is the neighborhood itself in, to then value your house? So it doesn't matter how nice you make the house, you're limited to what the surrounding area will value it at.
Mm-hmm.
Where once you get into multifamily, the value is the income that it produces. When you sell that apartment complex, it is a business. Someone is buying the cash that it's generating, not so much the building. So there's a lot of room on the table. So we essentially are flipping apartment complexes. We'll get in and renovate them and bring up rents and bring in more revenue. And that is what ultimately makes the building worth more money. And so I don't want to use the word lucrative because I think that has a bad stigma, but you can go in there and, upgrade things and then charge more money, a covered parking space. That's something that you can add, then charge more money for it, but it ultimately brings up the total value of the property. And so that's how you can control the return on your investment that you put in. And so that's what really drew us to it, is being in control of what it is that we're doing.
I feel like with the stock markets, so-and-so gets a divorce or someone looks at somebody the wrong way and like it swings, like there's no logic behind it. And I don't that just doesn't compute to me.
Yeah. The owner sends out a wrong tweet and
Right.
then is now messing with your money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
so emotional.
Yes. Emotional for everyone. It's emotional for everybody. And so I feel like when Greg first brought this to me, I was thinking like, okay, I have no idea what you're saying. Like you're talking in circles and my brain hurts. But the more that I've learned about it, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, this makes so much sense. I guess I should have really opened my ears the first time you talked to me. But I feel like just being able, like he said, having the control over like where our money is going, how it's being, handled once it's there, and then what it looks like when we get it back.
Yeah.
So
Which makes a ton of sense, right? So you guys basically, how hard it is to make, you said hard to make a buck. Like we've taken, it's been 10 years to actually pay ourselves properly and running our company. Like that's just been the grind. It took us 5 years to start actually paying ourselves properly, and then to actually start like
What we're worth.
seeing what you're worth, to start paying yourself. So when you get that, there's this whole fear of what you do with it, right? So now you've got this little nest egg you're sitting on. You're like, I need to do something with it, because in the bank, we all know interest rates in the bank. Oh, we got 100 grand in there and I'm making $1. Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. So
Or they lent it all out and it's not there.
yeah, or they lent it all out and now it's not there, which just happened. For you guys who are living under rocks, you can go look that up. But it's, you know what I mean? Like there's that fractional system in the bank. So that's not helpful for your money. There's no growth there. You could do private equity deals, right? So we're going through the different things. You could do private equity. We could go in and be like high risk. Your reward might be good, but you could throw in 100 grand into your buddy's company and it's gone. Or go in and be completely broke in the stock market, which a lot of people do. Like I've seen people invest $50,000, $60,000 of their hard-earned cash into, especially cannabis stocks up here was a big thing. And all of a sudden it was boom, done.
Yeah.
They just went bust. So there's it's just too much risk to lose your money when you know how hard it is to work. So what you guys are starting to do, and what I kind of want you guys to talk about your business and what you guys offer, is a little bit less risky. There's still risk related to any investment. We know that.
There's just more control.
There's just more control. So you kind of want you guys to start talking about and explain what your business is, and kind of just give us an intro on what it is you guys do with this multifamily level, idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the business has gotten produced out of a need. So what we do is a process of syndication. So syndication gets the common man to be able to go buy these large assets. Otherwise, how many people have $4 million to go buy a $10 million apartment complex? Not that many, but
Small percentage.
40 people may have $100,000, and so that's the nature of the syndication, is pooling that money together to be able to go acquire these assets. So we started a owner's capital, which is an equity firm. And what that actually is and what we do with it is we go hunt and find an actual apartment complex deal that the numbers make sense, full business plan, and then we raise the capital to go acquire that building. So we don't have 10 buildings that you then come into and get a piece of all 10 buildings. Each deal is specific. Each raise is specific to a certain deal, to a complex. So if you like that area, you think it's a good fit, exactly what building your money is in. You can drive there, you can touch it, you can see it. It's just not some numbers on a computer. This is brick and mortar. It's real. It's tangible assets. And so the reason we started it is I have money to invest. I don't have the $4 million to go buy it. So if I can't just go acquire it on my own. Pooling our money together with like-minded individuals is what allows us to go and tackle these big projects and gets everyone into that type of asset class, which is very important.
Yeah. So we help business owners, anybody who's looking to diversify their investments, to be able to invest in those different deals. Does that make sense?
Which, oh yeah.
Yeah, it makes loads of sense.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm a math nerd. No, numbers make sense. Like I get it, right? Like we're in the same boat. All of us as business owners, like you rent your building when you start or you lease it. Then you want to buy the asset within the building so you're not paying rent out. And it's basically that rule where the banks are like, well, you can afford a $3,000 rent, but you can't afford a $3,000 mortgage. So you're sitting there as business owners being like, well, I'm paying $6,000 a month for this building or whatever it might be, and I can't afford to purchase it and pay $5,000 in the mortgage. So
Yeah.
I think being able to take that money and pool it, because you said I don't have 4 million sitting around just to go buy a multi. And how many doors are we talking in these units? Like what? So when we talk doors, we're talking about like number of actual units inside the complex. Like when you guys are investing deals, and I want you guys to talk about your 5-step program. I looked at your website and I just kind of want you guys just to go through each of those 5 kind of things that you guys do in over your 5-year period. But what do you guys look for and how many doors kind of make sense? Is there a difference between 10 doors or 100?
Yeah, 100.
Like, is there a magic number?
Yeah. So we want at least 100. So
Okay.
once you have 100 doors, there's enough capital being brought in to have a full-time staff to then run that apartment complex. So, I don't want the phone call that your water heater's leaking. I don't want the phone call that your AC is not working. They're on staff, property management, to handle that. So anything less than 100 doors, you're getting the phone calls. There's not enough capital there to run it. And so what we would offer to investors as limited partners to come in would be, you don't want that phone call. You just want to invest your money and have a check mailed to your mailbox, every couple of months with some money in it. Like ideally that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So 100 units or more is what gets us there. So we have the biggest one I think we have is 440 units that we're in right now. So we have 700 total that we're involved in right now. 700 total.
And that's a number.
Yeah.
That's a number.
That's a number. So just explain quickly the LCCs. Every unit you guys buy, is it its own, the syndicate's its own LCC? Like it's its own corporate kind of structure?
Yeah. So every complex that is purchased has all of its own business. Okay. So when we were talking about risk earlier, I wanted to mention, they're non-recourse loans. So if y'all wanted to invest into it and you put in $100,000, you cannot lose $110,000. You're only at risk for what it is that you put in. Unlike a single family home, if you buy a $350,000 single family home, you're on hook for all $350,000. If something goes awry, the market crashes, you buy it at a peak, and then you buy it for $350, and then the market crashes, and now it's only worth $300. Well, you just like you're on the hook for all of it. This isn't that. So you have all the benefit of leveraging the bank's money, but you're not responsible if for whatever reason things happen. Catastrophes can happen. It's not a bulletproof investment where you can't lose money. You can lose money in it.
Yeah, and that's what we said, right? Like every investment, there's risk associated with it. It's just mitigating that and the amount of capital, because like if you don't need to put it all in, like if you only have 100, can you put what's the number that is the minimum investment for your guys?
Minimums are generally 75,000.
75? Okay.
Yeah, 75,000.
Which makes sense. And then how many people do you guys bring in like in a syndicate? Is there a cap on the number of investors, or depends on the building size and all that?
It depends on the size of the complex. That's why we have minimums, because there's enough paperwork to go on that there has to be enough meat on the table to deal with everything. I don't need 1,000 people to buy $1 million, to raise $1 million. That just doesn't make any sense.
No, that makes sense. I just wanted to clarify for everybody like watching and listening, just what, like, it's not like you can take $1,000 and be like, we're going to have 1,000 of us. That just adds so much more work to the other end of like, oh, now I have to send out 1,000 checks plus the paper, plus the fee.
So there are some side things where, say you don't have $100,000 or you don't have 75,000, people can create their own LLCs and and pool their money together to get in. So, you could have 5 people throw up 15,000 into a created LLC, and then that LLC then come in as a one-time purchase. Yeah. That is doable. Yeah. We're not going to get involved with that process, but that's something that, if people are hearing this and they're like, man, it sounds good, but I don't have $75,000. How can I get involved? That's
especially with the exchange right now too. The 75K is going to be closer to 100 here.
It's 100 here, no matter how we look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for Canadians listening, and then like for the Americans that listen to, like you guys are 75. For us Canadians, it'll be with our dollar flux. You'll have a different fluctuation, but I like the idea right now based on our dollar and the arbitrage. And you guys can look up that word if I don't get too technical. I like to do that. Is you guys can look on that getting your investment back, because it's actually, you're going to lose money potentially on the investment going down, but you're probably not going to lose it coming back out if the exit happens exactly the way it's planned out to be, right? So just based on the numbers you're going to get back, you're going to gain 30 points on the return right now at this point. Like we're 70 cents to your guys' dollar. So it makes a lot of sense to me. Right now, even at zero, it still makes sense. The numbers all make sense based on how the syndicate works. And I like the idea that so you can have a syndicate inside of a syndicate, basically.
Yeah.
So
these guys are just limiting what they will offer as paperwork.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. So could you guys talk a little bit about I looked on your website, you guys have them all laid out, like the 5 steps. So you have like your two steps in year 1, and then year 2, 3, and then year 3, and then year 5. Can you guys just talk about those? I'm not going to spill the beans on them. I'll let you guys kind of go through off your website, how people can see the return and when they're going to see it, and kind of just like the time horizons.
Yeah. So just like the year steps of paying out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So initial investment, we'll have to get in once the asset is acquired. We'll have to get to stabilization. So 90% occupied, and then we'll start paying out. I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, distribution. Sorry. Yeah, your distribution. So generally between 10 to 13% cash on cash is what we try to track down on our, in the performer. Whenever we underwrite deals, that's what we're trying to perform out. So say on a $100,000 investment, year one, you'll get back about $10,000. Year two, you'll get back about $10,000. Then year three, we'll go in and we'll get the property refinanced. So we'll add improvements, we'll do, basically rerun the loan, and that'll give a big kickback, anywhere from 40 to 70% really of your initial investment. So by the end of year three, you can almost have 80, 85% of your initial investment you put in already returned back to you. Then continue on year four, get about 10%, year five, get about 10%. And then when you sell out in year six, if you go the exact way the performers are spelled out, you'll get about 100% of your money back in the return of the sale. So we generally try to double our money in about a 6-year time period. If we can hit the performer in year three, we're selling it in year three. If we can double our money in year three, we're going to sell the building. We're not a long hold company. The goal is to get in. If it makes sense to sell it and we've hit our performers and we've doubled our money, then we're going to sell it and then take that capital and move it into the next. And the reason we do that is we have a ton of tax benefits, forced depreciation. There are a lot of tax benefits early on, and we take them as soon as we can, and then all that's gonna start fading out. So that's why we flip them and don't hold on to them long term. We roll them over once we start hitting the numbers that we want to hit in the performance.
Yeah, and just to clarify, once we do sell, you, as investors, you can choose to get into the next deal. We're not automatically rolling anyone's money over into anything. But
so it's because it's a corporate. So you're basically dissolving the corporation at exit, part of the sale.
That's right.
And then opening another one, which you can reinvest into if you feel like it.
Yeah, and so the great thing is when you do invest, you own a piece of the company. So when we start getting depreciation, that's tax benefits. That comes down to whatever percentage of the deal it is that you own. So for instance, if a limited partner comes in with $100,000, then they're going to own X amount of the deal. Well, if someone comes in with $200,000, well, they own twice as much as whoever comes in with 100. So all the depreciation that gets pushed towards you and your tax benefits, that's the idea. It's a business. So you get the write-offs to come back to you against other passive income, depending on what it is you do. And, talk to your CPA. I'm not a CPA. I'm just check with legal advice before you write it down. But depending on what your business is, you can write it off against other passive income, take that depreciation.
Which makes sense, right? It's very similar up here. It's just a different school of thought. So there's that school of thought. I don't know if you guys know Robert Kiyosaki and how so Robert, how he talks about he'll never sell anything because he doesn't like the government to take anything. So he's like, he'll never do a capital gains loss ever. Like him and Kim always talk about that, right? So it's just like you're selling and the way you're using your tax purposes is just different than what the long-term outlay thought of I'll never sell anything. I'll always just take cash flow and reinvest that cash flow. So is there an option to do that? Or are you guys going to stick just to the time horizon sell, or do you keep any of those units just out of curiosity?
No, we don't keep them. We flip through. That's funny you mentioned Robert Kiyosaki, because I literally have his board game. The kid, we were playing it the other night with the cash flow. with the money for the kids. It's like, it's important to me. I love it. Like you might as well teach the kids young. They don't teach them that in school. They don't teach business or life goals or how to structure your life as making money and what you want to do. So.
The key to making a beautiful feature wall like this is sourcing the proper material that just happened to be delivered to the site by the installer who brought it from a shop in Okotoks where a crew was planing and milling material that's used for all kinds of things like barn doors, faux beams, and all sorts of custom furniture. Of course, it isn't that easy because before milling the lumber, the nails are removed from the boards, but not before hauling the boards from another yard, which can kind of be fun to get to. The material is stacked and well organized because retrieving the material means going out and gathering each board, piece by piece. But the real secret is finding a barn that is no longer functioning for its intended use. The 100-year-old boards from this barn will be on display in this new home for the next 100 years. We're Two Birds Furniture, and this is what we do.
No, so how do you guys, like, let's do a little bit, since this is a couples episode, let's talk a little bit about that. How do you guys like set your goals? Because we talk about how we do ours and like we write things, but like what's you guys have like dreams and goals, and we all do as like couples, and you guys have set yourself up that you found a vehicle that actually is going to accelerate where you guys want to go based on trial and error a little bit, and then a little bit of being like, oh, this makes more sense, right? So what do you guys do, and how do you guys go about that as a couple? Like, what do you talk about? What do you get into for like goal setting and that kind of thing?
So we have a big 4x6 dry erase board that's in our closet, and it is subdivided on, tasks that need to be done this week, tasks that need to be done in the month, and then, 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, and life goals, family goals. And it is a big board drawn out. It is, what I'm telling you, it's subdivided and it's detailed. And she was asking me this morning, what are you doing? You're so quiet. She was putting her makeup on. You're so quiet in the closet. What are you doing? I was like, I'm reading the board. I got to make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I got to see it all. This is my prayer board. Like this is what we're on to. So
yeah, we've had that for, I don't know, maybe a little over a year now.
Yeah.
So I've typically been working inside of a different building until whatever, a year and a half ago. So I was somewhere for 13 years. So to kind of come home and to work for myself was like just weird to me. Like, okay, I can do whatever I want. No one's like looking at my task and what am I doing? I'm pretty like strict on what's going on in my life, and I'm like schedule oriented.
She'll drive me nuts. I'll get home early and be like, hey, you want to go grab lunch? You want to go do this? Nope. I've got a structured day, and like, you're home.
And you are not part of it.
Yeah, nope.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've got my time sheet. It's scheduled out, and I do not have time for you today. I will see you tonight when you're supposed to be on.
Right.
Like my kind of people.
I'm a writer downer. I like things written down. I have a schedule in my head, but it's kind of like y'all are saying, if you don't have your goals and your schedule, then it's like you just keep going day after day, hour after hour. And the next thing you know, you've lost a day, a week, a year. And what have you done? So I feel like our dream board not only keeps us communicating, but keeps us focused,
I think that's a great thing.
That's fantastic.
Robyn does the same thing. She's got like affirmations on her mirror
All over all the things.
sticky notes everywhere.
Yeah.
Reminders.
Right. So yeah, I think that's good though. Like I think having a giant board like that, like we have things on the fridge and different things everywhere, and then like we have an actual like a calendar and like
color.
Well, Robyn color codes my life. So because like she always says I have like two dueling squirrels. Like I'm on one project, I'm on the next. Like let's start another business today. Like how are we making money this way? Why is this not working? Like I'm all over the friggin' place. And she's like, no. Here's the colors. You need to follow this list.
You are teal today. Follow the teal trail.
Do it. That's really funny. I'm very similar to Robyn.
Yeah, so one of the things that I think is important when you have a board like that is when you get things accomplished, don't erase them. You got to check them off. You got to leave them up there to see like, hey, this is what we've done, especially on your 1 year or your 1 month, like, because if you just erase it, it's gone and you don't see that it was done. And then we take pictures of it, so that way you can go back and look, 5 years from now and say, okay, these are what we had at that time. What did we break? But I'll tell you, once we wrote it down, we crushed everything we set out to do. Like once it was written down and you look at it and you see it, and like I'm a numbers guy like you, Clint, so I'll backtrack. I'll say like, this is what I want to do. I want to have this much money invested. And I'll backtrack and say, okay, well, how much money do I have to make to then make that goal possible? Because you just can't write that number down. You got so every day, how much money do we have to make? Every week, how much money do we have to make? And then backtrack to that goal to then reach it. And so I'm big on that. I analyze.
So that it is, and that sounds very similar. So we're in Arate. I don't know if you guys know Arate, and our listeners we've talked about it. We've been to a few events. So that's with Andy Priscilla and Ed Milet. And they run World Financial Group and First Form or Supplement Superstores. And they kind of put this group together that you are part of with a bunch of different entrepreneurs. And his thing, Andy on his podcast, always talks about, it's called the Power List. So he literally writes 5 things down that are super important that are going to move his business, his life forward, whatever he's going to do. And he checks them off. He's still got his notebooks with those check marks from like 8 years ago or even 9 years ago when he started doing this. Yeah. He's been doing it for so long. He said he's got a stack, and all he does is he's got one of those old school ones. He just takes the pad out and replaces the pad in the cover. And he's got this book, but he's got piles of check marks. Because he's like, it's like an information that I've actually finished the 5 most critical things for that day that I can move on to the other list of things I have to do. And
it's such a win being able to check off that box. Like even with all of our teams on all of their lists, we physically draw the box for them so they can check, because it's such a rewarding experience just checking that box.
Yeah. And to know I've actually accomplished something for the day, even if it's minimal,
Yeah.
So what are you guys' like big goals then? Are you guys like, you guys have to have some massive goals? Are you guys willing to share like one of your big couple goals as a couple or individual goals or one like those?
Well, I would say, I mean, the big thing on the board is, ultimately, like we're looking towards retirement, looking towards, the end goal. And we want a beach house. Like that's like, I want to be able to drive to the beach and stay in my own house. Like, and I feel like in a weird way, it's like, okay, once I have a beach house, I've made it. Like we're there. Like, but I'm such a sucker for numbers. Whenever I'm looking at that beach house, I'm gonna be sitting there going, well, we could just invest this in a couple more years, like, and that's gonna, that'll probably wind up what'll be taken over. But that's that's kind of the goal right now. I mean, that's the big horizon. That's what's out on the.
I like that one. That's ours too. So I love that one.
Yeah.
I think the other thing too is, and I'll speak for Greg, and I guess it's more about what I see from him, so he's in construction and a lot of what he does is labor. So physical labor, it's hard every day to get up and go to work. And so for him to be able to say, I don't have to do that anymore, or I'm choosing to do this instead because we have other income to rest on, I think would be a big goal for us to be able to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to agree with both of those.
That one's huge.
That one's huge. I know, like I hit a plateau. Like I just cooked myself this year before Christmas, and too many hours, like 17, 18-hour days. I did like too many days in a row. I quit counting how many days I slept at our shop just to like hit through the rush of like, it's construction. Everyone wants their house in order and like all the builders are ready to go. And it's like, hey, I got to be done by the 23rd. Like I have no choice. Everyone wants to have Christmas dinner and they want to have their celebrations that day. So like we just went like crazy, and you're done. Like the whole of January, I just was like in a zombie mode, just like, oh, okay, let's do this.
But that's also why that was one of the big goals for this year, was to get the physicality of like our business off of Clint's shoulders, because it's not sustainable. And like, as you know, being in the construction industry, it's not sustainable, nor do you get happier doing it every day.
Yeah. You see the guys that are on site and they're like 55 or 60 and they're the happiest men in the world.
So yeah, that's been a massive goal actually for us this year. And Clint's actually in the process of phasing himself out.
Yeah. So those are like, it's funny how similar ours are. So I want a house in Hawaii. I'm like, if I can get a place in like Kauai, I'm sold. Yeah. Like set.
Poipu.
Yeah, right in Poipu.
Moving to Poipu.
I mean, you want to live in Hawaii, or are you going to fly there every time?
I'd probably fly there. I don't know if I'd want to live there. The taxes are too high.
Yeah.
The state taxes down over there are nuts. But yeah, for me, it's like, those are goals. Like, I think it's great that we have goals and then we kind of try to have them written down. You guys have them on a huge board in your closet.
I'm like, I want that.
I know, but I like mine on my phone where I can, like, they pop up, right? So I can see.
So are y'all big on dating them? y'all put dates? Y'all write dates next to goal? Like,
Yeah, so we have a booklet that we actually fill out that has like time horizons preset for stuff. Cause like that's that Elon Musk rule. I don't know if you've heard him ever say it. If you give yourself 30 days to clean your house, it's going to take you 30 days. You give
yeah,
yourself 3 hours, more than
It'll take
likely
3 hours.
you're going to get it done in 3 hours. So yeah, I think you have to. I don't know if you guys feel, if I don't write something down like that and have a time horizon, there's nobody kicking my own butt to go
yeah,
get
to
it.
do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I think that's it's hilarious on the similarities on every episode we do with couples. It's like we're all so similar, yet we know actually nobody sits and talks about business and be like, how does your wife deal with this? Or how does your husband like deal with your goals? Do they like bring you back? Like, because it was funny because you guys are very similar to us, whereas Robyn's like structured, incredibly structured. I'm structured, but in a different way.
Yeah.
So she's what everyone says visionary, integrated, those terms they use, but like literally like my brain will go 5 years in front of me to like now as we're talking, I'll be in a different conversation in my head. She always says, so I'm not, and then she's like, hey, how do you get here? And she brings me back in line all the time because I'm like, well, no, I'm going here now. Like, I don't know how we're getting there, but I'm doing it.
Yes, I feel like we're living duplicate lives here.
I'll be sitting here thinking of something and just like you said, like I've worked the next 5 years out, or I've worked the next problem out, and she's looking at me going, what are you pondering? What do you like she could see that like I'm just not like, even if the TV's on and I'm sitting on the couch, she's like, you're not watching the TV. What are you thinking about? Like something's going on in your brain. And that's me. I mean, I will analyze some of the smallest things, and I won't get them out of my mind until they're accomplished. Whether it's a task at work or a project, I will think about a project for 2 weeks, and I will think of the absolute best way to have it done. And that way, when I do it, it only takes me 45 minutes to get it done, but I've spent 30 hours thinking about exactly how I am going to tackle that project or that problem that is, it is inevitable. This problem is going to happen. I've already seen it. How do I fix it before I actually go there and tackle it?
So how do you talk? So Robyn said, she always says, you've already planned it, but you don't talk to me about it. So how do you guys do that?
Yeah, because you come to me after you've processed this for 30 hours and assumed that I've been along for the ride. But, but then just show up with, this is what we're doing. And I'm like, well, I need like a hot minute to process this.
Right.
I'll tell you exactly how we do it. I'm very short and quick because you should already know what I was thinking. And then we'll get into an argument about it. Because I'm talking to her like, you haven't thought about it? She'll tell me, you talk to me like I'm dumb. And it's like, well, I've just already thought it all the way through. Like, I don't need you to think about it. I've already thought about it. I'm just telling you what the plan is. It's already been all discussed in my head.
Yeah, so those conversations are still a work in progress.
Yeah. If you have any corners, send them back this way.
That's so funny because there'll be instances where I will see like Clint having a discussion with himself, and it even gets down to like the mannerisms. Like if his hands are going back and forth, he's like having a logical conversation. If his hands start going side to side, he's calculating numbers. Like
it's a true story. I don't even realize I was doing it until she pointed it out.
I'm like, I know exactly what you're doing. So then it helps me catch up to where he's at.
She'll catch me drawing in the steam on the shower glass numbers, and I'm working math problems out in my head, and I have to write numbers down in the steam.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I want to go back a little bit. So I want to go back with you guys a little bit, just go back to the company and the investment strategies and where people can find you. I kind of want to reiterate what we can look for and like how we can kind of join, even being from Canada, like we can get people involved in these investments. Like I talked about earlier, if you want to get into the math a little bit, you can reach out to these guys. Or if you have questions on like arbitrage from my side, like I have an accounting degree, I know my numbers, so you guys can call me and ask, and then I can forward on the information to you guys. So if you guys just want to kind of do a recap for us on what and where we can kind of apply and steer everybody. Yeah.
Absolutely. So the company, the investment firm is Owners Capital, and you can visit us at www.ownerswhoinvest.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Owners Capital or Instagram. And mostly I post on our personal pages, and then I kind of share. So you can look for Brittany Krause or Greg Krause as well. And then if you're interested in learning more information, we of course send out just educational emails. We have Wealthy Conversations, which is just a webinar that we do. And then we also have, articles that we do. So that's called the Owner's Hustle. So we've just started that, kind of like a blog feel. So those will go out via email. So just even if you kind of want to, we have a bunch of family members who are kind of just silently sitting back and learning. So you can just go to our website, like I said, ownerswhoinvest.com, and you can subscribe. And so that way, then you'll start getting our emails and you'll kind of see what's going on. You'll learn about when we have deals come across our laps, and then we'll do webinars on those, of course. So really, we're easy to get in contact with. You can stalk us.
Are you guys strictly right now in Louisiana, or are you guys branching out in the States a little bit, or are you just sticking within?
No, so we're all Southeast right now, the Southeast United States. So yeah, we're not just stuck in Louisiana. We're all.
Okay, so there's deal structures like all over the east side or southeast side.
Yeah.
For you guys who don't know geography, maybe look at the map so you guys know, like, you guys do, like, you're close, like, so you're southeast, so you're not doing anything in Texas then. You're kind of staying.
Yeah, Texas. Yeah, so we have some in Houston. So we're in Texas, Tennessee, Louisiana, Florida's real big for us, Georgia's real big, South Carolina, Alabama. So yeah, we're all across the Southeast.
Are you guys seeing a shift? This is just more of a question than I have. Are you guys seeing a shift in like population moving south from north right now, and kind of seeing the need for this?
Florida's been boomtown, and you know, but what it is that we're buying is such a need. Like the income, you know, this is the properties we're buying are a lower base income. These people need doors. You know, we have an immigration problem here. You know, people immigrating into the country. It's like they need doors. You know, we're bringing in several million a year. They need doors. You know, I guess what I was going to say in that is how stable of an investment it is. If the economy takes a big downturn and people start losing houses, they're renting from people like us. You know, if the economy is booming, great, then they can handle rent increases if everybody's making more money. So they're like the economic struggles that the country is going through, even right now, we're not really hurting from it. As long as your underwriting was properly done and you like the fluctuating interest rate is what the only thing that's really catching up. That and, you know, insurance went through the roof. But if the population is struggling and losing housing, we have doors to facilitate that. And so that's where we're booming. So it's good. Business is good. Having a bunch of doors right now is not a bad place to be.
No, and I don't disagree. That's why I was just curious, because there's like a population transfer. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's just a big movement in locations and areas that people are going, one, due to government stuff and COVID restrictions, all that jazz. And then there's one just based on climate. Like people are moving from Eastern Canada to Western Canada based on our government alone, but also our climate here and out to BC is more like Washington. It's rainy. It's still cold, but it's rainy. It's not as much snow. It's a little better. And then all of our snowbirds are all going to Phoenix. Like, and Phoenix is booming from LA because LA, everyone's trying. So there's just this big transfer, and there's a couple of huge kind of things that are causing it. So trying to find those deals. The
huge shift was COVID. We're, you know, more free states. People who have kept their freedoms. Florida being the biggest one.
Yep.
You know, getting your freedoms back as quick as you could and being able to make your own decisions. That and taxes. You know, like. They're all moving this direction, you know, and I don't want to get political into it, but
no, there's just lots of opportunity for it.
That's what it is. That there's a political shift moving this direction.
Well, and there's lots of opportunity of people moving to those states, right? So that's why I was just curious if you guys are just in Louisiana or if you're kind of going, because like we were talking off air, I have a friend of mine who's doing very similar that he just started doing in Charleston in North Carolina, and he's like, the population movement is. And if everybody in the industry is kind of seeing that, then there's room for growth in it. And there's a lot of opportunity for everybody listening to least go like look into it
Mhm.
and kind of see if it's something that might fit your guys' investment strategies. Or because a lot of us, I don't know, but like you guys have the 401k in the States, we have the RRSP up here. That kind of stuff is, you're stuck. Once it's in for us, like we're screwed until we're 65. Like unless we really want to pull it out to buy our first house.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it works.
So down here, if you have a self-directed 401k or self-directed IRAs, you can invest that into real estate. But
Okay.
you have to be self-directed.
You can't have it through your business.
Yeah, it's not through your employer, because your employer would have it. But if you say you retire or you switch companies, and then you can get that scheduled to self-directed, you can then invest that into real estate.
Into this structure. Okay. And that's good to know, like for people even, and I'll have to put some stuff online for you guys listening for up in Canada too, to see what the RSP restrictions are.
Yeah, just on the
Just
value added.
on our value added section. You guys will check that out just to see what we can do. Cause I think it's a great opportunity to invest into the States just based on the ROIs that are offered based on the number of doors and the structures of the deals. Now, can our listeners contact you guys direct? Like, or I know the contact, but on your website, there's like a sign up. And I was,
Yeah, that's for the email chains that go.
Okay.
To be updated and different
was
information.
there a paid course or a paid thing on there too that I saw? Sorry, I got my phone on airplane mode for.
No, not for us. No.
Nope. There's
Nope.
nothing to you.
No, the wealthy
the
conversation
playbook.
is the playbook. Yeah. So that's, once you sign up, then you'll be able to get that in your emails and you can download it. So that'll give you like all kinds of information. It sounds like you read a lot of that.
Yeah, well, I haven't read your playbook yet, but I'm going to get it right away here. But yeah, so you guys can go on, subscribe, get that playbook, and that'll help make some decisions
Mhm.
for you guys listening, because there is a lot of unknown out there right now, and we haven't even talked about. There's the doom and gloom with the banks and the issues that are going on, right? And where to put your money. People are into hard assets, right? Or they're into gold, silver, like we were talking about Kiyosaki, or into real estate, right? So there's, where are you putting it that isn't going to like freeze your accounts, and there might be 60% of it's insured, right?
Yeah.
So there's things you want to be looking for, and I think it's just good awareness for everybody that we talk about it, that there's other options out there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I feel like even just growing up, it was so much so the only investment opportunities that you had, or even options, were 401k, and that was it. 401k, stock market. And so to be able just, we're in our mid 30s, like we're just now starting to explore this and understand it. And it's like, I feel like we've missed so much time. Like, how come people aren't talking about other ways to invest your money? So we definitely appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
Mhm.
So guys, reach out,
Yes.
email them, subscribe, do the whole thing. And for sure, I will be getting in touch with you guys after. We'll touch base again. I always have questions. That's how I roll.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you guys for coming on,
Yeah.
explaining
Thank you
it
so
to
much for
everybody,
joining us.
and giving us some fun insight on your goals and like kind of how you guys is dynamic and your board, so that you guys can all try and implement something like that. I think it's great. That visual too. So
I'm like,
the
we're
whole
getting a whiteboard. I'm gonna
Oh.
shove that in your face.
And you can color code it too.
I know. I'm so excited about my marker options.
You're welcome. Clint.
Oh, my joy. So thanks guys for coming on. We appreciate you guys taking the time.
Mhm.
Thank you guys for listening. And as always, you guys can find us at businesslifehusbandwife.ca.
Absolutely. Thank y'all so
Thanks,
much.
guys.
Thanks for listening, everybody. As always, like, share, and subscribe to help us grow the show.